Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Yes, I got bedhead. I just woke up because of my crazy schedule. I come home at midnight, and I just stay up later and later and later. In my defense, I got a lot of guys on my team are also night owls, so my comic is this close. We are literally waiting for one page to be finished. I caught
Nice.
some last minute typos, so that's being fixed up, and then the pre-press should be done. I'm hoping by the end of the day, and then I can order proofs, and then we print. So even
Sweet.
though I'm up late, it was a productive night. We got Creative Welshman says he's catching this live. Cool.
Nice.
And for those of you who check this out, my comic book Heroic Tales, it will be coming out. It's almost art is everything creative is done. We're just doing the technical nerdy stuff that I didn't even realize was a step.
Mm-hmm.
Edward and I, we did a series called Crowdfunding 101, 102, 103, and 104. Where, we'll get into this, but Edward was
Yeah.
considering doing a crowdfund, and I had just finished up, or I was in the process of doing my first crowdfund. So I thought it would be a fun thing to talk about. So let's get right to that. You're doing a crowdfund.
I'm doing a crowdfund. I wanted to do it last year. Stuff happened. Before that, so there was this is the Desert King is the book I'm launching. It's the first book I've ever done, and I had previously launched it in 2019, where I self-funded and sent it out, but I never did a crowdfunding thing, right? And I just kind of sat on it. I moved away from it, did other books, did other projects, work. And I kind of got to this place where I was like depressed. I was like, screw art. I hate art. I don't want to do this again. This is, terrible. And
Right.
like me trying to figure out what I want to do because I was depressed. I was like, I don't want to do art anymore. Like I got super burnt out. Um, so I said, well, I have this book and let me just like put the pages out just to get the energy going before I give up, right? Or like just do this as a hobbyist. Um, and then sure enough, started meeting people. You guys brought me on to you and RJ's channel, and that like got that like little fire under me. So I hit you up. I was like, hey, what's good with crowdfunding? So we started that little bit, and I believe it was on one or two. I kind of asked you guys. I was like, what would you do if you had a book? Like a finished book. Like, what would you do? And I believe it was Tonic Mole. It was Tonic Mole, and I backed his last project.
Yeah, Tonic
He's
Ball is it's funny because he's so like, hey man, love and hit, but he is like the guru. Like
yeah.
he has given me so much advice that I have ignored, and then I suffered because of it. He's always right. Always listen to Tonic Ball.
Yeah, and so he said, "We'll do a second cover, like do a second cover and do a reprint." I can't begin to tell you what a fire that lit under. Like I have not been that excited to do art. Like I remember getting off that call. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Right, like foaming at the mouth, like ready. 2 days later, everything goes to hell. Dad has cancer. I have to take him to the emergency room hospital. Helene is on the way, right? And so he's in the hospital for a week. News to us, right? Helene has just passed. We bring him home the day after Helene passes. Such a tough weekend, terrible weekend. He
What
has
do
to
they
go
say?
back.
God laughs at the plans of men.
Oh, the I don't want to call it irony, but it was just one of those funny things. Like right when I was ready to like go into it.
Right.
So then Milton's on the way. He's still in the hospital. So he gets out of the hospital after another week. 2 days before Milton, I pack up my parents' house on Monday and we evacuate on Tuesday down to Naples. And so, but in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I really want to do that cover. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready. I'm still ready, but now all this stuff is happening. And then we come back. The house is fine.
Oh, that's
Um, yeah, that was good. But the
how's your
thing
dad?
is, he's good. He's good right now, you know. But after that, it was like
Because
every other day.
I'm trying to remember. This was like a year ago, right?
This was this time last year.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, because
This
I remember that we were talking, and then you were telling me about your dad. I was like, oh
Yeah,
my god,
dude, it was such an insane moment in time because I was
right,
so hyped, and then all of a sudden perspective kicks in.
right.
And you know what I mean?
What about me? I'm about to go to print with my comic book, and I break my neck.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's how I met you with the broken neck.
Yeah, it was. It's like and then when I explained my hardships and I explained how I still wouldn't spend my backers' money, people make fun of me. You know,
Yeah.
only Comicsgate will make fun of a person for not touching the backers' money during a hardship. But go figure. But my point being is, there's never a good time to do a big project. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I can't stress this enough. It's like, go and do it.
Yeah.
If you're passionate about it and it's something and you can afford it, you know,
Mhm.
always keep that in the back of your mind. If it's gonna bomb and you're gonna lose the money, it's almost like it's like gambling. You know,
Mhm.
if you're gambling with your friends and you got $100, be prepared to lose that $100 and just say, yeah, it was a fun night.
Right.
But as soon as you start making you're gonna find out that the steps you didn't do, there's gonna be people that you're gonna work with that you like, I shouldn't have worked with this guy. You know, things like that. Everything is gonna go wrong. So there's never the perfect time.
There's never the perfect time. But the funny thing was, right, is like, you know, I'm like, oh man, all this nervousness that I've always had about doing a crowdfunding. Well, now that's the least important thing in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
you had
like this
real problems, yeah, with that.
is like, you know, life or death. So we come home from the evacuation, and then it was a 6 month emergency. You know, like every other day was an emergency until now. Now he's fine. You know,
That's
so
good.
he's doing so good. He had bladder cancer, and they popped it out, and he has the bag, and you know, and everything's he's, you know, pretty much who he was before.
Oh, that's so
But
good.
it is really couldn't ask for anything better. Super grateful. But it was one of those things like, man, all that saying you're good, you know.
Well,
But
that's the important thing. Your dad's.
that's yeah, that's the important thing. So he's really
You
good.
know, I talk with a lot of people. We talk
Mm,
offline. There's so many people in this indies field who started the process for crowdfunding, and before they were finished, tragedies happened in their family, like
mm,
cancers,
wow.
and
Mm,
heart attacks. You know what I mean? And they all come on camera and talk chipper about it. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't know. You
yeah,
know?
you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And you know, the moment I had a second or the energy to just do it, I held on to it for 6 months, and I said, "Well, time to do the cover." So I was able to start in June, I think, like June this year.
Do you want to show the art? You want to show the cover?
Yeah, yeah. Do you have it, or you want me to show it?
Yeah, you show, and put the link in the private chat, and I'll bring up your campaign too, so we'll show it off. And while you're
Right.
doing that, my wife bought me a 3-pack. So I got a gold shirt, a blue shirt, and a red shirt, and
Oh,
I just
nice.
love these. I just love these.
Careful with the red shirt one.
I know. You don't want to. You don't want to. I should have wore the red shirt when I broke my neck. Yeah. Let's see.
If you click the link, it'll take you there, and I should have a preview on there.
Okay, so I'm not gonna invite people. I'm gonna share my screen. Share screen. There we go. So yeah. I remember when you showed this to me when you were on RJ. Like RJ found you someplace. RJ from the Fourth Age.
He found me on Twitter. I never used Twitter. It was totally random, synchronous.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Let me just answer this question. Was it medical? Blue was the original site was science. So all the engineering, medical, all that stuff. Red was no. Blue was science and medical. Red was engineering and security, and gold was command. That was original. Then they changed it up for the second series. So just to settle a debate. But anyway, RJ found you on Twitter, brought you onto the chest. So I didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
And your art blew me away. Like I keep saying, your art is just like a marriage of Studio Ghibli and Mobius. You just put
Yeah.
together. it's so. I was enamored by this. I was like, you gotta crowdfund this. So if it bombs, it's my fault, and I feel bad.
It's okay. If you go to updates, there should be,
Oh, updates. Okay.
yeah, and then the first update. There you go.
Okay. So this is
that's the cover I did this year.
That is gorgeous. I love your art. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
So, with the splash of Zelda. Yeah, there you go.
With the splash of Zelda, a splash of Akira Toriyama, a splash of Disney, a splash of McFarlane. You know, it's like a real amalgamation of all the things that I grew up with. You know?
Well, it sounds, you know, I talk about rap music a few times. I'm not a big fan of rap music, but like in the early '80s, rap was, you couldn't deny that it was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it exciting? Because these guys like a not Jay-Z, Schoolie D and Run DMC, and these guys, they were inventing something. They were.
It was punk in a way.
Right. It was guys who didn't have any equipment, you know, doing the best they could to get heard. But more importantly, they were listening to all types of music, and you could hear the funk, you could hear the soul, you could hear the metal, you could hear the country music, and they created rap. And nowadays, I'm not a big fan of rap because it just sounds like these people grew up listening to only rap,
right?
You know, and now we have Drake. But my point,
we don't accept Drake anymore. Drake's been excommunicated.
Oh, he has. That shows you how much I know. It's the worst music I've ever heard in my life. Right now on our phones all day long, we can listen to the sum total of human music, and people choose to listen to that God's Plan song. Just shows me that there's no hope for humanity. But anyway, but what I'm saying about this is your artwork. I can look at this image and I can see Disney. I can see Studio Ghibli. I can see Mobius. You know, I could see all of these wonderful art. Like right now, you're not just, because a lot of people do anime. This is going to sound awfully terrible, and I hope he's not watching. But there was a guy that I worked with. He got all excited when he saw that I was making a comic book, and I'm showing him pages of art from Renzo and stuff, and then he starts showing me his art. And this guy only watches anime. And it was just bad anime ripoff. Everybody had the big eyes, you know, and I was just like, oh, you know, what do I get for insulting him? So I was like, oh, that's, but inside I'm just like, this is just like, you know, in science fiction, you take a clone and you clone it, and you clone it.
Yeah. And then it loses its
as degenerative disorder. But you're taken from a variety of sort, and I just find this to be exciting and fun. And that was my long talk. I'll stop interrupting you.
No, you're good. You're good. I've always appreciated the comment and the you know, saying how good the art is. You know, and that was my focus. And with this story, not only am I just taking from the style, but I'm also trying to take from the stories as well. You know, like with Ghibli's, like these whimsical stories, and Disney, the adventure. You know, and for me, I miss meaning in stories. We get content, we get generated stuff now, and I'm trying to create. You know, it's a short book. It's 35 pages, 40 pages for the whole book.
Okay.
But in there's, for me, all this meaning about trusting yourself and patience and persevering through multiple hurricanes and your dad having cancer, persevering through a neck injury, persevering through life, persevering through sickness, right? That's the origin of the story, is me trying to find a way to get past type 1 diabetes, you know?
Oh, God.
I believe great art comes, I don't want to say great art comes from pain, but great art comes from life, and life can be painful,
right?
You know?
Yeah.
And so
life is everything, you know.
Life is
like Alan Moore said, life is a little bit of horror, a little bit of comedy, and if you're lucky, a little bit of porn.
Today we have all those things in abundance.
Right. My wife and I were talking about this last night, that I forget. I don't want to get too off track, but I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos of and now that sets my algorithm towards other things, and one of the things the guy said is, he goes, culture. It was actually Pete Sabetti last night. Pete Sabetti of Alterna Comics said this.
Okay.
And he's absolutely right. I was thinking about it the whole drive home. He goes, if you go from 1975 to 1980, culture changed so much, so fast. Like, disco at the beginning, and then towards the end, it was punk rock. The fashions changed. You could almost look at an ad and see what exact year it came out by the. He goes, but you go from like say 2000 to 2025, we all look the same. We listen to the same music, the same band playing. You know, culture. And my wife and I were thinking it's the internet. It's the access. You know, like we talk about diversity, but we have the opposite of a diversity right now. Like true diversity is back in the 1960s. You could go to Ireland and you can't even understand them, even though they're speaking Irish with that hard brogue and the red hair and their strange customs. And then you go to Nigeria and you get a whole thing. And then you go to India. Nowadays, with all of these people moving around and diversity, and you know, you go to Paris, you might as well be in Algeria. You might as well be in India. You might as well be in New York. You know, and I think that's happening to culture, but that has nothing to do with your comic. It just
it's a thought. It's a thought. No, right. but at the same time, though, it's one of those things where it's almost like, as far as entertainment, it's like you can pick and choose what your culture is. Like, because of the internet, we have so much access to everything that you streamline what you dig. You know, what popular culture is what most people dig, and now popular culture becomes the algorithm. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting thought. Like you just spinned it into something positive. I was spinning it into something negative, but you said now we have access to everything. Well, yeah, you're right. That's why we have like an upsurgence and like weird stuff like furries and everything like that. Because now every little fringe culture could find a group and support them.
And so, I mean, anime was fringe culture, and now it's, you know, the Demon Slayer has outsold Superman and Fantastic Four in the theaters.
Right.
You know? And so, and for me, it's not even about positive, negative. I'm one of these guys where I can see multiple sides of things at once. I think that drives some of my friends crazy, because I'm like, well, what about this, right? But is multiple things to be true at the same time, especially when you're dealing with, we still have no, like, there's no rules on the internet. You know, there's no rules for our algorithm. So we still haven't really, like, our human brain still haven't adapted to the amount of information we're getting.
Right.
You know?
I agree with that.
Like, we're still adapting to it, and it's still adapting to us, and we're still figuring it out. And here we are in the most extreme circumstances because we haven't figured it out yet. You know, how do you deal with so much information emotionally? You know, and that's what I love about this book is, like, who are you by yourself without anyone telling you?
Well, before, this is all you. You wrote, you drew, you lettered.
I wrote, drew, lettered, published the first time. Now I'm publishing it again.
Yeah, I think, to me, that is the purest form of a comic book. One person, a pen or a computer, and this is all used. So, like, I wish I could draw, but I can't. So I need at least two people. But I wish
I can. I wish I still had a team, though. You know, because to do everything is taxing on the brain.
Yeah, but like, you could afford like a small crowd fund. You know what I mean? Because I mean, unless you quit your job to draw this, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I assume you're doing your day job the whole time. Like me.
Yeah, I was still storyboarding.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. You storyboard. Like, I still work construction. I'm not dumb. I'm not going to quit my job and try to live off my crowdfunding. So like when people tease me, oh, you only made 8,000. Oh, you only made 5,000. I'm like, yeah, but that's enough for me. You know what I mean? This isn't my job. I'm not dependent upon this. So it gives you a certain amount of freedom. And I don't want to mention names, but I have other guys that have pretty moderately successful campaigns. I mean, they're not 100,000, 200,000, but they're guys that do, and like, yeah, my day job gives me the freedom to do this. So,
right.
That's what I do like about crowdfunding.
Mm.
Is
Yeah.
without crowdfunding, I never would have been able to make it. Like I couldn't have spent all that money and then gambled on a publisher to put it in comic books, and then they all say no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And now
now,
you're on your third one, right? You said you're
well,
working on
I'm
your
finishing
third
up my second. We're starting right now. I'm working on a side comic for somebody else. We're going to talk about that on Friday.
Sweet.
So I'm going to be in somebody else's comic with my characters, and then that is just about done. There was the 8th page out of 12 is finished for that.
Okay.
And then
12 pages is a good page count.
Well, it's somebody else's story.
Mm.
Each person gets 12 pages to tell their own story, so it's going to be like a giant sized comic. And I'm really excited by some of the other people. Like I'm going to be in a comic book with one of my favorite creators.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So that I was like, you had me, but now you super happy. And it's funny because he says, not only am I the only one to start, but I'm almost done, and other people haven't even started yet.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I didn't want that to take up so much time that I couldn't get my third crowdfund. You know, so but I'm excited. I'll talk about that on Friday.
We're doing I'll be there. I can't wait to see it. You posted something recently. I was like, man, I think Renzo did it. And I was like, I think it's for the third book, or maybe it's for this upcoming book, but it was for something new. And I was like, man, this is really good.
Do you remember what the picture was of?
I want to say it was of a cowboy or something that you're working on.
I put out a couple of teasers, but one was like Odin on a throne, and one was
that one was cool because it had the gold frame. Gold frames are in right now, right? And then what was the other one? I think it was a black and white one. I could be wrong.
Oh, the theater. That's Ron. He's doing a story of the Raven, and then I posted like a Greek warrior. That's another story. It's kind of secret, not really. That Arkham is drawing. I got like a bunch of artists, and I got a couple of artists that like don't say anything, don't mention anything until I'm done. Like they want to. Like I shouldn't even have said that. But I got a bunch of people that I'm working with, but Renzo is my main through line.
Your main guy.
Everyone else is doing like side stories.
Next year, when I'm done with this campaign, and then I'm out like totally free to just draw next year, we definitely got to do something.
Yeah, I would love to work with you. Creative Welshman, who also that Creative Welshman, you were the one who turned me on to the other guy's channel about the name game. So I wondered if you watched my video where I responded to that. That was a lot of fun. I wonder whose Batman stand-in would win, John's the Raven or my Crimson Wing. Well, my Raven, people bust my chops because I like weaker superheroes. When people are like, who would win, the Patriarch or Spider-Man? I'm like, oh, Spider-Man. Like you shouldn't say that. But first off, it's disrespectful to say my character could beat an established beloved character of 70 years. You got to earn that. Crimson Wing, I don't know the Crimson Wing, but I will say Raven will have a hard time with him. He's just a regular guy. He's not even as good as Batman. You'll see. He's so bad at what he does that he needs he needs somebody else's assistance to actually solve the crimes.
There you go.
I'm not smart enough to write a detective, so I did a workaround.
There you go. It's one of those things where it's like it's almost endearing to have a character who he's trying his best, but it's like just not the best at all, but he's like still tries and still tries and still tries until he overcomes.
Well, like Batman is motivated by fear and justice. Superman is motivated by like hope and love. And Wonder Woman is motivated by like compassion. Those to me, like justice, love, hope, those make you a better hero. Those make you a better person. The Raven is motivated by anger and resentment. So he's not better, Cool. Point me in the direction for your Crimson Wing. I like the name of it. It's very pulpy. I picture him like a red shadow with the fedora.
It is very pulpy.
Yeah. So let's get back to Eno the Desert King. So you've been working on this for a long time, and this is like it's a young guy overcomes adversary and.
Yeah, so I finished it. I finished it a while ago, and it's just been with me for so long. I first published it in 2019, and then moved away from it. Now, I'm obviously inspired by you and others wanting to crowdfund it and see what happens. But it's about a 12-year-old boy, uh, 12 in my mind. Um, but it's about a young boy who's just lost in the desert, right? And it's about, there's symbolism of like ancient cultures in there. Like there's symbolism of what water is. There's symbolism of what is an elephant, right? What's a giant desert elephant doing? Well, the mystical side of it is wisdom and safety and security, things like that. Obviously, the skulls represent death, but they also can represent renewal. So I tried to tie it to mythological while still keeping it very like 80s, 90s Disney, you know. Um, and it's just about adventure. It's about overcoming circumstances. Really, it's about overcoming yourself,
Right.
you know. Like there's a point in the story where he's in front of the proverbial mountain and he has to make the choice. Do I go back into the desert or do I climb the mountain? It's about trusting yourself to climb the mountain, that circumstances will work out as you do it. You know, me, when I had the chance to first do crowdfunding, I went back into the desert. You know, I said, well, maybe I don't know. And so now it's like, dude, no, you're gonna have to climb it eventually. So it's very meta as well. It's still very I think it's relevant. People go through hard times.
Right.
As an individual, like we can go through a collective, like me, my mom, my dad went through something hard time. But let's say my dad, it was still his individual hard time. You know, there were moments of isolation. And so I believe like isolation, one of the themes is like being totally alone by yourself strips away all the things to tell you who you are. You really have to get to the core of who you are.
Tell me
You
about
know?
that. That's during COVID. I was freaking out. That's why I started this channel, because I wanted,
Mm,
I didn't think it would ever turn into this, but sitting in your apartment in Queens, and then I was like, we got to get out of here. I moved to Suffolk, and I'm like, what do I do now? Like, we didn't know how long it was this
mm,
lockdown was going to last, so I started talking on the internet to myself.
mm-hmm,
And next thing you know, I'm talking to you. Yeah, isolation. I think it you could collapse, or
mm-hmm,
it could cause you to like fundamentally change everything, which is what I did. I was like, I'm
mm-hmm.
changing the circumstances.
Right, exactly, right. It's that pressure. So, you think, Jesus 40 days in the wilderness. You think
Yep.
Buddha, in
Under the tree.
under the tree, you know, it forces you to like really get to the source of who you are, and then you boom, then you jettison back out into the world, you know. And so that's one of the themes of this book,
Yep. Yeah, people, it
changing
seems to resonate.
circumstances.
Everybody seems to catch it up. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, literally, this book sounds like it's taking that expression, "You're your own worst enemy,"
Hmm.
and you're animating that expression.
Exactly. There's like I have a double page spread. I think I posted it on X. If not, I'll post it again today. For those who are following, it's a it's a double page spread, and why is this happening to me? Why am I here? Why am I going through this? And
Existential angst.
existential angst, and he's crying and he's in pain and suffering. He's crying out for help. By the end of it, and it's like this collage of it's like this 2-page collage, but that's the angst of why is this happening to me?
Can you find that picture? We'll
Oh
share
yeah.
it. Yeah, we'll show off you, because, man, like, I think your art is something that would really resonate with people. It's got it's not it's got touches of old school, but it's
Hmm.
unique to yourself, and it's I think, because right now anime is selling, manga is selling, and you have like a perfect mix of American style and manga style. Not like that poor guy. I feel bad talking about, that I worked with. It was just literally, I like anime and I'm going to copy. He might as well be an inferior Xerox machine,
Mm,
you know. But yours has dynamism, spirit, fire, and the fact that you're not working for a mainstream animator says two things: that the world is in trouble, and B, that these people who are making animation, I think they're like a committee, and
and they get to see who gets in
Yeah,
or not.
like I keep bringing this up, but I read someplace that Marvel Comics is trying to make so that each page total art, writer, editing, lettering, coloring is $200 a page, which is less than what I pay. And I'm a guy sitting here with bedhead, making comics
Yeah,
in my basement, so that's what happened. Like, I got friends who have been animators for 20 years. They're struggling to find work because they're reducing costs. And look at Saturday morning cartoons. When was the last time
there are no Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, $200 a page? Yeah. Eno says, enough. I'm going through the desert. Yeah, with a horse with no name. Yes, an isolated mind would need to be disciplined mind to prevent itself from becoming self-referential. Yep. Existential angst, the collage of our life. Yeah, good comment. I often wonder. I'm reading Miss Tree right now, and here she is. She gets sent. She's being threatened with. She keeps fighting with the other inmates. She's in jail for killing somebody. Finally, she killed like 7 people. Now she's finally going to jail, and they're threatening her with as much as she hates the other inmates, and she's always fighting with them because she's a good guy. She doesn't want to go into a what's it called, solitary confinement. And she's like talking with herself like, I don't like other people, I don't get along with other people, but the thought of being in solitary confinement terrifies me. So I wonder about that. Like, what would I do? Because I like people, but I like that's the whole thing of COVID really freaked me out. I'm like, I'm not living.
Yeah,
I'm not living.
it was tough for, I think, people who are more extroverted. I was
See, my wife could have lived like it. She worked from home. She's an introvert. I don't think it bothered her as much as it bothered me. Never hire some. That's Marvel. Marvel never recovered from the 90s when they made rock stars out of all the artists, and then all the artists left formed Image.
And they all left.
Right, and then there was like a little boom of writers. Unfortunately, it was like Brian Michael Bendis was one of the hot shots, but you had Mark Millar, Warren Ellis, all these, and then they started doing stuff on their own. Who knows? Maybe behind the scenes they started asking for too much money. So Marvel, I think they just out of policy. Everybody's can work 3 months on this title, then we're going to switch to that title, so nobody gets their feet on the ground, and nobody can get their britches big enough to demand more. And then
it's like that sense of paranoia, right?
Which is why I love that you're doing your own thing, your own comic, art, writing, coloring, lettering.
Yeah, I do. I will look at someone, to see if they can spruce up the lettering a little bit, because that's probably the one part I could have, maybe done a little bit better. But you can still read the words.
William, the guy who's doing my comic, his lettering is awesome.
Word.
If you want, I'll ask him if he's interested, and if you want, I'll give him your contact information.
Yeah, if it works out, it works out. Can you see this page?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you make it a little bigger?
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, I don't mean to be mean, but your lettering could be spruced up.
Yeah, it could be spruced up a lot.
And I got a buddy that makes his own comics, and he's not motivated by money. He wants to do everything himself, but his lettering is killing his comic.
Yeah.
So he needs. Yeah, Bill could clean this up really well.
Yeah, and everything is already like you can go in and edit it really easily.
I don't know. You say you prefer solitary confinement, but I don't know. Although, like when I was injured, there was a lot of times where I was just sitting here in my basement by myself, but I had access to comic books, board games, and the YouTube. Like literally just sitting in a cell by yourself. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to isolation, one, it has to be something you want, or two, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go within. Yeah, I'm gonna explore this, and spend time with the mind, which is scary. Most people don't want to spend time with themselves because
No,
that's a
just
little
me, myself, and I.
me, myself, and I.
One of my favorite books, and I read it at such a pivotal time in my life, was Desolation Angels by Jack Kerouac. Jack Kerouac's famous for the book On the Road. I read On the Road, and I mean, I was like 22, miserable. All my friends were in college. I was working at a pizzeria. The pizzeria, like I was a part owner of the pizzeria. The pizzeria all of a sudden wasn't doing too good. It was doing so good, and then a Little Caesars opened up down the block, cheap, like half our price, and we lost half our customers in one weekend. It was, and I'm like, what am I doing? And then I read On the Road, and I packed up and I moved across the country, with $40 in my pocket.
Wow.
Then while I was living in Albuquerque, I read Desolation Angels, and it was Jack Kerouac became a fire watch somewhere in the Northwest, and he just lived for 40 days in a tower, and every day he would just send a signal by like telegram or something like that. There's no fires, you know what I mean? And if he skipped a day, they would send out helicopters because that meant something happened, or if he got a message, there's a fire. But that's what he thought it would be great. I'm gonna write a book, and he wrote. He went nuts. 40 days, no contact with anybody. This was like the early 60s, so he had no cell phone,
no internet, no TV, no Netflix.
And there's pages of the books that are just glyphs that he made up. He made up his own glyph system because he was just out of his mind.
You see how like how creative the mind could be without all the input, but you have to be prepared. Like you have to build a vessel for that.
Right.
You
well, that's what he said. He thought it would be good because he thought he would get work done. Instead, he went insane. And like
he went to the extreme other side.
Right. And you hear all this like I'm working on that Odin book, and one of the things I'm researching is like Arius and Pelagius and the Gnostics and everything, which just it's so bizarre. It's actually scary because that's going to be a part of that Odin book. But like Pelagius just wandered off into the desert. You know what I mean? To collect his own thoughts. John the Baptist, Jesus, 40 days in the wilderness, Muhammad, didn't he go into a mountain and Moses went up, and like all of these people that just isolate themselves, like,
and usually
they either go mad and write glyphs and put it in a book, or they talk to the spiritual,
Yeah, it's like you have to be prepared for the amount of energy that you really are that comes out of you.
Well, like you said, do you really want to know your mind? Yeah, like I fantasize about, like, I'm gonna lock the doors, turn off the internet, and just live in this house for 40 days. Maybe my only contact, I'll do like Fresh Direct to get food deliveries.
But someone, I was listening to some YouTube channel, and they made a good point where he's like, it's one thing meditating in your house for like 15 minutes and like trying to silence that, but like these guys were out in the wilderness,
right?
Like a snake could have attacked, and that was like you are trying to be still in danger,
right? Like,
with your mind, you
right?
know, like that's a whole other texture to it.
You want to hear how crazy I've gotten is I was getting disillusioned with my. I was a school teacher and I hated it. I got to change my career before I'm too old. So I started, and then I went to an electrician, and I worked my way up from an apprentice to an A-man. And my first year was rough. You're the low man on the totem pole. Nobody knows who you are. So, when the job's over, you're the first guy to get laid off or whatever. I was like, this was a mistake. So I applied to be an electrician in Antarctica. And one of the things that during the application process, they referred you to a forum where you just communicate and talk with other people that are still in that. Antarctica does have access to the internet, believe it or not. So there's people that are living there, and then people that have, and listening to their experiences. And I was like, this sounds awesome. Like I was getting excited to do it. Like, they're like, you're in Antarctica. Like, even if you quit,
You're in Antarctica.
they're not coming to get you for 6 months. So you are literally living in Antarctica for 6 months with no pay, and they're not, the food isn't yours. The food is the other guys that are still working for the government or what, you know what I mean? So it's like quitting means you have to fight for your meals. And so it's like you don't quit. Okay, you quit. Okay, well, we'll still see you in January. And like, can you deal with all sunlight or all darkness? And you would be the only electrician on the continent. So like you're in whatever Fort McGurty, I forget the name of the base, but they would have to fly you to another base thousands of miles away if they have a problem. You know what I mean? Like, they said one of the electricians went nuts from the responsibility. Like, if you,
I can only imagine.
Could you imagine you fly all the way over there and you forget the one thing that you needed?
Oof.
You know what I mean? Like, you gotta know your crap, and then you go outside. They say you could only spend 20 minutes outside, and then you have to come in.
Yeah, because it's so cold.
And then it doesn't matter what you wear. You can only work at 20, and you have I have work gloves right now, and I'm trying to make splices with work gloves. I got to take them off. Could you imagine? I have these big things.
That's like being on another planet.
Right. And then they would talk about fist fights. Guys just getting fist fights. You know what I mean? Like, you're breathing too loud. That's my picture.
We got in the fist fights in college. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
What in the middle of.
I don't know, but I was just like, I think I asked for too much money, and then my wife was like, "You're not leaving for 6 months." You know what I mean? So
to go to Antarctica of all places.
Right. Of all places, Antarctica for 6 months. So I don't know.
Come back disheveled.
Yeah, come
bad head.
I keep thinking of Wilford Brimley in the Thing when they lock him in the shed because he's freaking out, and they look at him. He goes, "I want to come back inside. I'll be good. I'll be good now." I don't know. But anyway, that's so your comic, like you said, isolation in the desert, dealing with yourself, learning who you are. Have you ever spent a long time isolated?
I want to say, yeah. I mean, the reason why I did Desert King, quote unquote, one, I came up with it in college, but it really got into my brain when I was in Colorado, where I don't want to say I was still around people, but man, there was nowhere to go. It was just the mountains and prairie, and I'm a city kid. I'm like, I had like reverse of when you're afraid of closed spaces.
Yeah.
I had like the reverse of that, where you're just mountains and flat for miles.
Yeah, when I moved to Albuquerque, I was freaked out.
Freaked out, dude.
Yeah, because you could see it miles and there was mountain in the distance, but like I was just like, I am totally exposed. Like, there's no cover, there's no shelter. Like, that's what I felt like.
There's no buildings, there's no train, there's no taxis, there's no civilization. It's just land. I remember this like one drive, land, sky. That's it.
Yeah, it was land and sky, and I think the highest building was like a 2 or 3 story building.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
Caddyshack.
Yeah, it like in between the buildings, you could see like infinity.
Yeah,
it was freaking out.
You can see a storm on the horizon.
I never saw that before. I'm like, what is that? They're like, oh, that means that's rain far away.
Yeah, it's rain far away.
Yeah,
but then I got used to it, and it I hated Colorado. It's only good for skiing. That's there is a lot of skiing and drugs in Colorado, but I got used to it because I was in Colorado Springs, and so the mountains were right there. So the mountains like kind of like chill you out.
Yeah,
I was wound really tight after college, and mountains just helped me just work out my own stuff. And that's what this book is he's working out his own stuff, So was I by myself? I was around people, but I was kind of by myself.
Right.
I felt very isolated.
Mental isolate. I remember breaking up with a girl, and I just mentally isolated myself, like as I was alone in a crowd kind of thing.
Yeah.
Feeling bad, like
Mm.
like I had. It's a sad story, but I was like, I decided in my mind without saying anything to her, like, this is it. This is it. I'm happy. This could be it. And then things went south. You know what I mean?
Mm. It's like, yeah, you get all excited and then
Yeah.
something happens and
I was surrounded by friends. I was doing stuff, but like I was inside my head
out.
isolated. The opposite
Yeah.
of physical isolation.
Mm.
And to tell you the truth, physical isolation I think is easier to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because mental isolation, there's emotions and all that stuff
Right.
behind it.
All that complicated stuff.
All that existential Desert King stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this is one shot.
This is a double page spread. This is
No. I mean the book. It's 35 pages. The complete story.
Complete story. Right.
Good. I think that is me personally, and I'm not the expert here, but I think that's so satisfying in crowdfunding because until you're established that you could deliver once a year or twice a year, I think a one shot is just the best for the customers. It's a satisfying complete story. Now, will Eno appear in another story, or is this everything?
I hope so. I hope so. Eventually, I can come back and return to the character. I certainly have a lot written, fleshed out, epic, grand Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars type of deal. But for this right now, it's a complete story. And what another thing I drew from was like the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Being short for like Enoch, right?
Oh, that's right.
That they found these scrolls in this cave after thousands of years. And so now we have all of this, whatever wisdom or stories or metaphor, whatever you want to call it, after thousands of years has returned to the surface. So in my brain, this book is kind of like an old fable, that got lost in the pages somewhere. And
so that's the cave thing. We're supposed to pretend that this is found. You know what I mean? Like, like Lovecraft was supposed to pretend that it's real and it's diaries of other people. I love that stuff.
Yeah, me too. And so it's like an old Aesop's fable that someone forgot about and they found it, and like I think they found like a new King Arthur's tale right after however many thousand years. So it's kind of like that, where it's like it's kind of open ended. It starts, he's there in the desert. When it ends, he transformed, but he's still there. You don't know where he's going, but he's going off into the horizon. But the whole story is a complete story of this fable of this kid, and that thousands of years ago people are still going through the same stuff we're going through now.
So the Desert Tale, it's a 35-page complete story. You're everything about it, and I noticed your Kickstarter is just notified me on launch. Do you have a launch date?
1 week from now.
Oh,
October
wow.
15th. October 15th.
1 week from now. Okay.
Yeah. Ready to rock and roll. Got all my.
And this is already complete, so you're just gonna with a few things, and then after the campaign. Nice.
Yeah. The only thing like I said, I might mess with the lettering. Get in contact with that guy. I got maybe some other people lined up, but like the art, story, layout, all that's finished. Actually, this is the last book I have left from the previous one and the previous cover here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So this is the last one I have left. So I was like, I got a crowdfund. I got to make sure John gets one.
Yeah. That is cool. So and that is amazing. You just made it because you wanted to make it. Like the first.
It was just I had the character before he was Eno. He was just the Desert King, right? So I had the character for years, and I just couldn't stop drawing this kid. I just couldn't stop drawing. I'm like, why am I obsessed with this kid? He's been on my heart for so long. So eventually I said, I just got to do a comic. And I said, well, the only story I have is my own story. And at the time, this is kind of the stuff I was going through, where I was, figuring stuff out and letting go of a lot of anger from when I was a kid. And that's what this is,
Yeah. But I just love that. You didn't even know about crowdfunding. You just made a comic book for yourself.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And then shared it with friends and family, and then you learned about this whole crowdfunding thing. That's pretty cool. I like that.
It scared the crap out of me, and I ran away from it, right, the first time. And two, this is just right when this is like in maybe 2017, 2018, as I'm working on it, just seeing the comic book world crumble to the ground. And I'm like, what am I doing? So that was part of the fear, like, oh, I'm outside looking at this landscape of just war and just destruction to all the characters we know and love, and everyone's being fired and this. And I'm like, oh, this is terrible. What are we gonna do?
But people still love comic books.
People still love comic books.
People still love comic books, and the saddest thing in the world is, you know, me. I'm on a new job now, and hey, what are you doing? How you doing? Eventually, I bring up comic books, and they all say the same thing. They still make comic books, man. I used to love comic books. I used to love Green Lantern, and they'll talk for 25 minutes about what they used to love. It. I can't convince them that they still make them. That they still get them. You know, it's a blissful thing. It's like an old girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like they would never call her again, but it's so sad.
Yeah.
You know,
it's funny. I said, I remember talking to someone a while ago. I said animation, because I love doing animation too. I said animation is like dating that girl that she requires so much, and she's worth it.
Yeah.
But you can't do it. You know what I mean? The commitment's too much, even though it's worth it. Where comics is like the old girlfriend, where it's like, you know everything about her. She knows everything about you. You've broken up. You gotten back together, but more than likely, you're always going to be part of each other's lives in some capacity.
Yeah. Well, I got to start getting ready for work. This schedule is just, talk about isolation. Like, I wake up, my wife's already at work. I come home, she stays up just to see me, and then we talk for a little bit. Then she goes to bed. Then I stay up till 6 a.m, sleep. It's like I hang out with the guys at work, but we're working. It's
right.
I don't like, it's more money, but I don't like the schedule. It's killing my channel. I tell people either noon or midnight. So I appreciate that you were able to. And believe it or not, I got a full slate this week. So tomorrow, I got Our Monsters. He's got, that's the name of his comic. I don't know his real name. And then Friday, I got Bill Willingham.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one of my, not to be disrespectful to anybody else, but there's 3 Grail guests: Bill Willingham, Alan Moore, and John Byrne. So I got one of my Grail guests. And when I finally talked to him, he said, I've been meaning to come on your channel for a while.
That's awesome.
It's like, oh man. So that's, I might be.
So now it's like you're dealing with this schedule, but then you're also, talking to these people. So it's like, that's to circle back to the first part, is like, that's the both positive and negative of things, right? You got to be able to take both.
Right. You guys want to watch me fanboy gush? Tune in Friday at noon. I'll give you that.
I saw you talk to a Chuck Dixon recently.
Yeah, Chuck Dixon. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, dude, I just bought some old Robin comics that day.
If you're into comics, odds are you have a Chuck Dixon comic, whether you realize it or not. Yeah. Chuck. The first time Chuck Dixon came on my channel, for about 20 minutes, I was like, I'm talking to Chuck Dixon. I'm talking to Chuck Dixon. Don't act like a joke. But by the end of the talk, we were laughing and joking. Now it's like hanging out with a buddy.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's such a cool, normal guy. I really enjoyed it. Zach Ted says it looks like a fun comic. Yeah, check it out. Sign up.
Check it out, guys.
It right now it's just right now it's just to help him with the Kickstarter algorithm. So you sign up, you're just going to get emails. It's not going to be spam or anything like that.
Not going to be spam.
And then it just tells Kickstarter that there's interest in his comics, whether or not Kickstarter is going to promote it.
Right.
So sign up the notifications before launch. That doesn't mean you make a commitment to buy anything yet.
Yeah, it launches next week, and you can check out all the tiers. Right now, if you go to the page and go under updates, you can see what the tiers are going to be. I'll have digital, hard copy. We're going to have posters, t-shirts, a whole package. And then I'll be selling like a 1-of-1 of the original of like the new poster.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like you mean you're selling the original art or
like I'm selling this original piece right here.
Oh,
of the new
wow.
poster. Yeah. I said some lucky person's going to get that.
50 years from now, when he's old and gray, he's gonna be like, I can't believe I sold that and it's worth $55,000.
But that's the thing. I wanna share. I wanna share the art. I wanna get it out there. So,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been doing it if you and RJ haven't even
Oh,
bought me
thank
one
you.
the first time.
Well, that's worth it. You know, because I was, first off, you're a cool guy. I enjoyed talking to you. And then when I saw your art, I was like legit blown away. I still have you talked to Rini from
Not yet, not yet. I'll reach out to her. I think I might even reach out to her this week. I know she just had a massive
right,
freaking
but your
campaign.
artwork is reminds me of her artwork in a good way, and you're both into fantasy. Like I could see you guys getting along. You know, that would just be awesome if she was to. Do we have a link? Oh yeah, put the link in the private chat. I forgot to put it in the public chat. Good call, Zach Tan. I will do that right now.
Oh, it's in the private chat already.
Yeah, I forgot to put it in the public chat. Sorry about that. So here's the link. Kickstarter projects, Edward Lilley art, Eno the Desert King. Thank you, Zach Tan, for calling that out.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, check it out. I wish I had another hour or two to talk, but unfortunately,
me too.
It's a freaking hour drive.
For anyone who's in the chat, you can follow me, Edward Lilley Art, or EdArt76 on X or Twitter, and Edward Lilley Art on Instagram. And you can just look me up and feel free to message me. I want to talk to anyone about the book.
Yeah, and maybe a year from now, when you're done fulfilling, and I would love to have some of your art in my comics. That would be fun to work with you.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, next year, I'm trying to stay present in the moment.
Right.
But next year, like when the campaign is done, all I want to do is just draw.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a chance to do it this year because of my dad and hurricanes and still recovering. People still don't have roofs from last year. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Don't get me started, because during Hurricane Sandy, like, my brother's house was destroyed, you know, and he had to fight with the insurance company to get money to fix the house and everything like that. And it's like,
it's crazy.
And they just passed that $65 billion Sandy relief bill. Oh, where's that money? Where'd that money go? My brother had to fight with his own insurance company to get that money. But where'd that $65 billion go? You know, I was telling my cousin, I was like, I don't want this bill passed. He's like, your own brother lost his house. Is my brother, because they said like just about 12,000 houses in New York City, 12,000 houses were destroyed from Sandy. $65 billion. Do the math. Where'd all that money go? You know, that they could have given my brother $1 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, who that was just like the money laundering bill. You know,
exactly. Yeah. Who knows where any of the money goes? But
right. So, but like you said, FEMA was. So you're in North Carolina or Florida?
I'm in Florida right now.
Yes, FEMA. They I don't even want to get to this.
Yeah, let's stay positive. Let's stay positive. Comic books.
My blood pressure was getting high.
You're turning red. Your blue shirt's turning into a red shirt.
I'm gonna go to work mad and then get myself in trouble. But yeah, Enoch the Desert King. Check it out, man.
Eno the Desert King.
I keep saying Enoch. Eno the Desert King.
Yeah, check it out. Reach out to me, John. Thanks for having me on. We'll talk soon.
Come by anytime you want.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, great guest. Thanks a lot, man. I'm glad to have met you. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, same here, buddy. Thank you.
So I got to get going. Unfortunately, life gets in the way of things like we were talking about, and I got to say goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Take it easy.